welcome to Cruise Day Fun. My name is Joy, and this is my husband, Dan.
Hey! So today our topic is, what is a cruise really like? Yeah. So if you've been on a cruise before, please comment down below and help us explain anything that we leave out about what cruising is really like. For those of you who have never been on a cruise, this video is specially meant for you. So let's get started. Yeah. So even before you go on the cruise, there's a couple things we'll point out. If you haven't traveled abroad, traveling on a cruise, you're typically going to need your passport, and you're going to want that passport to be good for 6 months beyond your cruise. It varies by port and by cruise line, but check with them. Typically, you're going to need that. Sometimes a birth certificate will do, but passport's the main thing. The other thing is you'll have some documents to print up ahead of time, like a boarding pass, just like going on a plane. And you'll typically get luggage tags to print up at home or mailed to you, which is a little different than traveling by plane. A nice thing about cruising is that you can pay for it a little bit at a time. If you plan far enough ahead and book it far enough ahead, you can pay the deposit and pay it a little bit every month, or however it works out for you budget-wise. And that's a real nice feature. Mm-hmm. We've got another video that talks about that, and we'll link it up above. But let's talk about what the actual cruise experience is like. So your day has finally come. It's time to board. You go to the cruise port, and you head to the terminal. You take your luggage, typically drop them off at the curb, and maybe have a carry-on you take with you as you go through security, and you go check in. You get a special little card. What is that?
That is your room key card.
Yes, but
Very important.
Much more than a room key card. Like you go to a hotel, they might give you a little plastic credit card looking card that basically opens your door, but this key opens up a lot of other opportunities.
Yes,
like
it
what?
does. It allows you to purchase drinks and
Very
buy
important.
stuff.
Yes, buy stuff in the shops. You use it. You can use it in the casino to keep track of your playing and to make purchases. It's like a credit card, so take good care of that. Your sail and sign card, or whatever the particular cruise line calls it, is very important. It doesn't just open your room door.
Right, and you don't want to leave it laying around because it's like a credit card, so people will take advantage of it.
Yep. And you mentioned before buying drinks. I think that's a very great part of cruising, a fun thing. I like to have a nice tropical drink when I'm on a cruise, and I know you like those frozen mango drinks.
Anything mango is so yummy.
Yeah, but one thing we do want to point out, let's start by talking about non-alcoholic drinks like sodas. Most of the cruise lines, Disney Cruise Line is the one exception I know of, where they do supply soda for free included with a cruise. Oh, nice. But most cruise lines, you got to purchase that separately. So every time you go and buy a soda, you got to use your card to pay for it, which eventually you pay for with a real credit card. But those cruise lines also offer a soda plan, so you might want to consider whether or not to get the soda plan. And for those who like adult drinks, you might want to consider whether or not you want to get a open bar type alcoholic beverage plan. So that's something a little different than most vacations.
And if you favor one like Pepsi or Coca-Cola, definitely check the cruise website to see what they serve, so you have what you want, and to see what their policy is about bringing like a 12-pack of soda that you can drink.
That's a good point. Some cruise lines will let you bring in, typically it's one 12-pack per person onto the cruise ship. Not every cruise line allows that, but check ahead of time to find out if that's allowed. And like Joy said, each cruise line has their partner. They typically have either Pepsi products or Coke products. So if you have a strong preference, check that out ahead of time. So that's beverage. Let's talk about food.
Well, and if you're also a wine drinker, you can bring a bottle of wine.
Well, that varies by cruise line too, but check into that and find out what that particular cruise line allows. Okay, yes. So now can we move to food?
Yes.
Okay, let's dive.
Definitely.
Yeah, so food is a big part of a cruise. In fact, I think a big misconception a lot of people have about cruising is that it's basically you go to the buffet and then you go lay by the pool. And then you go back to the buffet after laying by the pool, and then you go back and lay by the pool again.
Right.
Well, you could do that. I don't know many people that just stick to that. There's a lot more options, and we'll talk about some of the activities in a minute, but when it comes to food, the buffet isn't the only option. That's a traditional option. It's one of two main options that have been offered through the years on cruise lines. The other being the main dining room.
Right.
Right?
And that's like a fancy restaurant.
Right. So a buffet, it's kind of self-explanatory. It varies by cruise ship and cruise line as far as what they offer. But the main dining room, like Joy said, it's a sit-down experience, multi-course meal. They bring you the menus, and they bring you this, the different entrees and appetizers, one by one. And something a lot of people don't know, and we didn't know on our first cruise, when you go to the main dining room, if you didn't get enough, ask for more. They'll bring you out more. You can order 2 entrees if you want.
Or
typically,
if you like dessert like me, you can get 2 or 3 different types of dessert.
That's right. That's right. Now, cruise lines vary on how they handle this, but typically, you can get just about as much as anything that you want, and it's included in the price of the cruise. That's the 2 main options. Typically, the main dining room is for dinner, and the buffet is for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It varies by ship, but sometimes when it comes to breakfast, for example, there's other options. You don't just have the buffet. Like on Carnival, my favorite option is to go to the Blue Iguana Cantina and get a breakfast burrito made to order. At lunchtime, on Carnival, you could go to Guy's Burger Joint.
Guy's Burger Joint.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's included in the price of the fare. And other cruise lines have things like Royal Caribbean has Johnny Rockets. Norwegian has an Asian restaurant on some of their ships, and they have
sushi?
Oceans or the Local, which offers bar type food at different times.
Or
sushi,
you
yes.
can also have sushi.
Right. So our point is, there's a lot of different options for both breakfast and even more for lunch. And when you get to dinner, a lot of these cruise lines now have what they call the specialty dining options. Those typically cost extra. Not always, but usually they do. We've been to steakhouses. We've been to Italian restaurants. French. They've got the hibachi style, teppanyaki style, whatever you call it, where they cut up the vegetables and the meat right in front of you and serve you up. Japanese style.
Put on a show,
Yeah.
cutting up their vegetables and stuff.
That's right. There's just about as many types of specialty restaurants out there as you can possibly imagine. Barbecue, Mexican, seafood, just about everything you can find on land. But they do typically cost a little extra, so that's something to consider. You can stick with the buffet or the main dining room for no extra charge, or you can go to those different options. So let's talk a little bit about the activities that are available on a cruise ship.
So there are a ton of activities, and you can do, besides going to the pool and laying out and reading your book or Kindle, you can do trivia, you can do word finds, you can do dance classes, you can do projects, you can do cooking classes.
Sure. Yeah, there's typically they'll put out and they'll leave in your room each night a list of activities, like a little newsletter of all the activities the next day. And there's no way you could do all of them because there's multiple things going on at any one time through most of the day. And most of the cruise lines now have an app you can download, which we suggest doing before you get on the ship. And that will tell you the daily activities, and you can mark them off, or you can highlight the paper list of activities. And it's like Joy said, you could do crafts, you could do a dance class, you could do trivia, you could go and watch and enjoy a band perform. And of course, we didn't even mention the terrific shows they have, Broadway style shows they have going on in the big theaters on these ships.
And some ships have movie theaters, so you can see a free movie like on Disney.
Yeah, they do. And that's, I think, on our Disney cruise we went on, you went and saw a movie twice. The same movie,
I did.
actually.
Yep,
Yeah.
I liked it so much.
Yeah,
I cried both times.
That's right. So these are some of the activities, but there's also, if you're a really active person and you're going, well, that all sounds good, but I don't know if I want to be stuck on a ship. Well, you know what? You probably won't feel stuck on a ship if you're on one of these newer, bigger ships, because there's ships that have, like the Royal Caribbean ships that have the flow rider where you can learn to surf. Surfing on the back of a cruise ship, what a wild idea.
You can rock climb?
You can rock climb. A lot of different cruise lines have the rock climbing walls. Most of the cruise ships that we've seen have mini golf.
Yes.
There's ones that have the ropes courses. That's becoming a real popular thing.
That's something I'd like to try.
Yeah, and there's ones that have the new trampoline type, the Sky Pad, I think it's called, on the Royal Caribbean ships.
And bumper cars.
I don't know if you're, well, yeah, I think they do have bumper cars on, I think is that the Royal Caribbean ships? And they have ice skating.
Let us know if
Yeah.
they have bumper cars.
I
You can
think-
also go ice skating.
Yes, I think I mentioned that, but yes, ice skating. And Norwegian has cruise ships now that have race cars. You can race cars around the top deck of the ship there. And the new Carnival ship, the Mardi Gras, is going to have a roller coaster. A roller coaster on a cruise ship. Can you imagine that? Yeah. So there's so many things. There's starting to be a trend now too with virtual reality, where you can go out and you can do virtual reality shooter type games, or it's just
Paintball.
Paintball. Well, yeah. I don't know if I've seen that one, but I can, the possibilities. Just every time they build a new ship, there's more and more activities. So
Yeah.
even when you're not getting off the ship in a port, being on the ship, there's plenty of ways to stay active. And there's plenty of activities to do, like we were talking about, where you don't have to be super athletic, like the trivia or watching a show.
And sometimes they have informational classes, and it's listed the activities for all ages. So
Yep.
your kids have a certain activities that are just focused on the kids, and then
That's right.
they have the adults, and then they have the family.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. That we're talking about the kids. I mean, we travel as a couple, just the two of us. But for those of you that travel with kids, we didn't even mention the kids clubs, and they've got all kinds of activities. Typically, the cruise lines have them broken down into a few different age groups, so the younger kids have activities that are geared towards them, and the older kids have stuff more like arcade games and things that are a little more up their alley. But these cruise lines have really thought of every possible thing that anybody might want to do. So if your idea of a relaxing vacation is sitting by the pool and sipping a cruise drink, that's great. If you want to challenge yourself on the Flow Rider, you can do that too. But so far, we've only talked about all the things that you can do and that you can enjoy when you're on the ship. These cruise ships don't stay in one spot.
That's
These
the
cruise
nice
ships,
thing.
that's right. This, unlike a big hotel or a big resort, you'll move from your starting port to other ports. You'll visit places like in the Caribbean or Alaska, places that you may never have experienced before. And in each of those locations, you can go and experience the local culture, the local activities. And let's talk about excursions.
So the excursions are paid activities that you pay to either go to the beach or to climb a mountain or go hiking or go have a beach day.
Well, let's talk. So, yeah, the excursions you can book through the cruise line or you can book independently. Let's talk about some of the different excursions we've done. What did we do in Alaska?
Oh, we went and saw whales,
Whale watching excursion. That was one of my favorites.
and we also saw the totem poles and how they're made.
That's right. So that was kind of a more of an educational one. And then we also went on the White Pass Railway up in Skagway, and that was really cool to go into the mountains and cross the Canadian border there on this classic train line. And if you go to the Caribbean, like Joy mentioned before, a lot of the excursions are geared more towards beaches, going out and snorkeling. But they've also have things where you can actually have contact with the dolphins or with stingrays.
Or you can see like some of the seven wonders, like Chichen Itza.
Yep,
The
Mayan.
pyramids.
Yes, the Mayan ruins in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. So a very educational, interesting excursion that we did. So there's so many options in all these different ports. Sometimes, if it's a port you've been to before, you might choose to stay on board. We've done that before, just because it's nice to be on the ship when it's a little quieter.
And then you can investigate or do the things that you wanted to do with less people.
Yeah, with a lot less crowds. So whether you're on the ship or off the ship, there's plenty of activities to do. So what is a cruise really like?
And the nice thing about a cruise is you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do any of the activities. If you don't want to, you can just relax and read a book.
Yes, you can. So, what a cruise is really like, it's what you want it to be. It can be relaxing like Joy just mentioned, where you just kind of take it easy and go at your own pace, or you can schedule all kinds of activities. You can go out and do an excursion in every port if you want to. Maybe you just don't want to book any excursions at all, and you just want to kind of go at your own pace and go how you feel that day. Cruising, let's wrap it up by just talking about what the end of the cruise is like. That's not our most favorite topic, but there is a time where you got to pack your bags back up. And typically what you'll do is you'll put them back out in the hall the night before you go. You'll keep what you need for overnight and in the morning, and then they'll have the bags tagged and waiting for you when you get off the ship in the morning. You go through customs. Typically, most cruises go to other countries, so you have to go through customs. And if you've purchased certain things or a really large amount of things that you have to fill out a customs form, look into that if you're really concerned about how that's going to work. But things like purchasing cigarettes, cigars, and liquor, at least in the United States, are big items where if you purchase very much, you'll have to declare that. And it's not really a huge process compared to going through customs, flying in from another country in my experience, but it is a process you need to go to. And you'll pick up the bags out in the terminal before you head back home. How do you deal with that last day's blues? Well, one of our favorite things is to have another cruise booked so we can look forward to it.
Definitely.
Or if you're cruising out of somewhere like Port Canaveral, then maybe plan something nearby at a place like
Universal
or Disney World. Yeah. So that kind of lessens the blow of the last day of the cruise.
So you extend your vacation.
That's right.
And typically the night before you leave the ship or disembark, they give you information on what times are available you can choose.
Yeah. So this is our kind of summary of what cruising is really like. Again, if we've left anything out, and I'm sure that we've left some things out because it was a very quick summary, please comment below. And if you have questions about any of the things we've mentioned or any other questions you've had about a cruise, put it in the comments. If you enjoyed this, be sure to give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe with the notification bell on so you see our future videos. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Bye.